It's time once again for the Ask the Doc segment with she's in studio this week, Dr. Maryweather from All Creatures Veterinary Center. They are located on Lyons Avenue between Newhall and Main Street in the Victorian Building, a 24/7 operation. You just got off work, right?
Yep, sure did.
And also, you guys have Canyon Country Veterinary Hospital located on Soledad Canyon next to Regal Cinemas. Not a 24/7 operation, but even still, if you're on this side of town and under your kind of your standard office hours, but you're open a little bit later than that, right? I mean, so it's not quite just like 9 to 5, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah, it's a family veterinarian.
Awesome. So we have more questions here as I'm scrolling through trying to find pictures of my new pooch for you. But we'd like to get people questions from people either usually email, but we have an in-studio question asker is actually Lori, who works in the office here. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
And it's rare to have you on the air in the studio. Usually you avoid this area like the plague.
Yes, very shy.
But you have a question for Dr. Maryweather.
Yes, I do. Actually, I want to present a scenario to you that happened this weekend with all the rain. There was a stray cat that was coming around probably about 2-3 days before, and I was feeding him because I'm a cat lover. And with all the rain, I actually got him to come in the house. And I put him in the downstairs restroom with a litter box and food and water and a little carrier with a towel in there just so he would have some sort of comforts. And I noticed he wasn't fixed. And he's very friendly. And he perched himself up on my lap. And I was looking at his face, and he had like some scratches, some wounds. And I wanted to know how I could treat that, not having any type of experience in that field before letting him go back outside.
Kind of the hard part about feeding them is, you end up becoming kind of like a congregational area, like a social watering hole.
Yeah.
And pretty much any unfixed cats, especially the males, they can fight.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So you might be attracting kind of the
and
local
I have
population.
2 male cats of my own too, so I know that could be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it really depends on kind of how extensive the scratching is. Certainly they can get into cat fights and they can get abscesses and all that, and sometimes they really need medical attention.
Yes.
Otherwise, if it's super superficial,
it looked like it was superficial.
Yeah, it's unfortunately sometimes a little bit of the laws of the wild.
Yeah.
Out there with feral cats.
Right.
Really, kind of my best recommendation would be try to get in contact with one of the spay, neuter, and release type groups.
Okay.
If there's a lot of cats in the area.
Not too many, just that one recently.
But. Yeah, getting him neutered is going to be probably the best way to kind of hopefully stop him from getting into so many fights in the future. But unfortunately it's a kind of a big part of the lifestyle.
Yeah. And I don't know if he belongs
the thug
to
life
a
for
neighbor.
cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're little hoodlums. They are.
That was my question. I knew that I probably was wrong in doing some of the things I did, but I just can't help it when I see a kitty out there or a dog.
I'm sure he liked being out of the rain.
I don't know. It was a lot of stuff was knocked over the next morning. It was pretty destructive. I don't think he liked being trapped.
Yeah, I can see that part.
So you think it could be a neighbor's cat, or could it be something where they might have wandered from somewhere? But would you recommend? As far as the scratches go, is there something you would put on the?
If it's bad enough, then it probably needs medical attention.
Okay, so hydrogen peroxide, no Neosporin, nothing like that.
No,
boy.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
If it looks like it's getting infected, I know it's hard when it's not really your cat, and he might not be the most handleable creature, even though it sounds like he's at least pettable. But if it starts to look infected, or if he seems to look dumpy,
right,
then trying to figure out how to get him caught up.
Yeah, he looked healthy, he looked well fed, so I might not have been the only one feeding him.
Yeah, the hard part is the prevention ends up being key with these guys, and it's getting them fixed.
Okay, yeah, I would volunteer to do that. I would.
You'd volunteer,
I would.
Not to do it yourself, but to take them somewhere too. I got it. Just want to make sure. I don't know if they home fixing kits right here.
Yeah, neutered and vaccinated.
Neutered,
are kind of
and that's a good idea.
That's
a good idea. Yeah. But just to make sure that if you keep feeding them, you may end up with 3 cats. So
I know.
You know how that goes.
Get 3 male cats.
Well, that's the thing too. Is
house.
You start getting attached to them, and even if you think okay, and then they do something really cute, or they curl up, and all of a sudden, they pair bond or something, you're in for it. Forget about it.
I have pictures and videos of them on my phone already.
Oh, of course, of course.
I've named them.
Might be a bit too late.
Well, outstanding. Lori, thank you for that question. It's always good to have the in-studio
Thank
questions
you.
coming
Do I have to
in.
go back to work now?
It's up to you. That's out of my purview.
I think I do.
That's out of my control. Have fun.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor.
No problem.
So that was fun. We'll be back with more of Ask the Doc after this, and we're going to have traffic right after this as well.
Spice up your relationship by selecting an intimate personal gift from the Fun Zone Adult Gift Boutique. Surprise your sweetheart. Show your love and care with a unique, intimate gift. The Fun Zone, carrying the largest selection of lingerie, novelties, DVDs, bachelorette party gifts, and much more. Put the romance back into your life. Santa Clarita's Fun Zone, in the same location since 1991 on Soledad opposite Home Depot, or log on to funzone.com. At the Fun Zone, every day is Valentine's Day.
Every day, Santa Clarita teens deal with countless personal challenges: depression, violence, bullying, peer pressure, and the like. You never know what your friend or your child might be going through. Hi, I'm Kim Goldman, Executive Director of the SCV Youth Project, where we help teens and your family confront and avoid these challenges. We know that your teen years may be some of your toughest, but they can also be your greatest learning experience. If you, your friend, or your child need support, visit helpnothassle.org.
Taking a look at traffic really quickly on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. George Cummings here, bringing you traffic updates every 10 minutes on the 8th. Of heavy traffic on the 5 freeway southbound between Lyons and Cowgrove. There was a traffic collision reported 5 southbound in the 14 connector, but I'm beginning to wonder if it's a little bit closer to Cowgrove. Have 2 left lanes blocked right now, trying to get those vehicles moved over to the right shoulder. Otherwise, we just have a traffic hazard 5 northbound of the 210 westbound. You got some boxes in the number 2 lane, and they're going to need a break to fix that, and otherwise, or get that out of the way, I should say. Otherwise, just slow traffic on your southbound commutes, 5-170, 405, still pretty heavy. Love your traffic tips, 298-KHTS, 298-5487.
Test drive the stylish 2014 Acura ILX today. Luxury, highly recommended. Visit your Southern California Acura dealer or learn more at SoCalAcuraDealers.com.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
And we're back with the Ask the Doc segment on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, with veterinarian par excellence, Dr. Maryweather, All Creatures Veterinary Center, 24/7 operation. In that last segment, Lori did ask you about strays and things like that. And
The cat that adopted her.
the cat that adopted her. We'll have to see. I'll have to let you know how that goes. And adoptions come from all over, don't they? And, I want to talk a little bit about attitudes with animals and no matter what type of pet it is, whether it's dog, cat, bird, or our rodent friends, or our friends that aren't rodents but are rabbits, as it were. And Elmer Fudd always mischaracterized Bugs Bunny as a wascally rodent when he was not. Just so you know. That, of course.
They don't like carrots either.
Yeah, they don't like carrots. But as it turns out, because one of our dogs had been like, he kind of had an attitude. And even though we'd had him checked out, it was just, go ahead and clean his ears and things like that. But he never liked to have his head touched. He would make noises like licking his paws and stuff when he was laying down. And it's like really annoying. And it turned out, and his ears really started to smell bad. And that's one of those signs. It turned out he had a yeast infection in both of his ears. And so started to get that cleared up, and his disposition is just completely different. He's mellow. He doesn't seem to he's not like growly or snipey. And it's not that
He's not grumpy anymore.
Right. And that's the thing, though. And we know that he had problems with his ears, and we were regularly cleaning, because that's when we've taken him in before. Just make sure you keep him clean. But in this case, it was a little bit more of a serious problem. But his attitude has completely changed. He's, sometimes he gets snipey, especially with our new dog, but he's like mellow. So I call it, and this is the situation where you need to kind of really keep an eye out for any of your pets, no matter what type of pet, and their attitudes. Am I right? Whether or not they're sluggish, or maybe a little bit snappy or something, right?
Yeah. The hard part is that sometimes the first signs can be really subtle. Especially if it's a gradual type of development, either it's, it slowly builds up, but you don't really notice the trend over time. Or they can acclimate to kind of, things that would put you kind of out of commission on the couch, they walk around with rotting teeth, and they seem like they're doing okay until you get the teeth taken care of, and then you're like, oh my gosh, they're so much more comfortable.
And that's the thing with Otis. He was really, most of the time he's fine, and he ate fine. He was active. We'd go out on walks and stuff like that, just every now and then. And he didn't like to have, if you came in at came in, especially in front of him, you see him where you touch his head, he like would hey, you know.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, completely different dog. And so those are the things that to kind of look for. And especially maybe a little bit more difficult with animals like rabbits and those that are considered prey, because they really do hide their symptoms,
they hide
right?
it until they're like half dead.
Right.
And that's the hard part with them.
And those are the ones that's why it's really important to give
Super
regular,
subtle,
super subtle, but also
stuff.
make sure you give them regular checkups, because they will not. And it's not like they are. Their personalities, rabbits, for example, or guinea pigs are very different from dogs, where they don't necessarily, it's not like they beg to go out for a walk.
It's a different kind of realm. And, and it's also really important from the standpoint that, even with kind of, how much we've learned about like the care and keeping of these animals, like I would say probably not just the preventative medicine benefit, or actually definitely a preventive medicine type of benefit, but a lot of the diseases we see in exotics are preventable. Their husbandry stuff, and husbandry would be like the care and keeping, their dietary things, their, diseases that when they're caught early, are easier to treat.
Right.
So a lot of these things, regular veterinary checkups are going to be, kind of a happier, longer lived creature.
And also those
scales or
aren't
feathers or
unless you are have been like a very long time rabbit type person or guinea pig type person, you're not necessarily going to understand their behavior patterns and things like that. If it's something new, especially if you got it for your child, who may or may not be paying as much attention to it and you might not even think about that. So it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, the hard part is usually the people where they've had rabbits for 20 years, they're showing up. He didn't eat normally 2 hours ago.
Right.
There is a certain amount of you learn to recognize the signs when things are getting serious.
It's like it's like
the
when
first
you're
rabbit that you're like, oh, well, I thought he ate carrots.
Yeah, of course. Watch Bugs Bunny. It's all good, right? Yeah, and it's the two, like with your cats, your dogs, you tell like when their tail is down or halfway down, or when they're sluggish or they don't do their normal things. But especially for a rabbit, you're keeping him in a hutch most of the time, so it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, or it's like your lab that normally has a great appetite suddenly doesn't want to eat, and one of your socks is missing.
Right.
Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's oh no.
Oh boy, and it's got to take them in. But fortunately, your office has incredible state-of-the-art equipment at All Creatures Veterinary Center, and you're there. So if you find your sock missing and your dog acting very strangely, even at 2:00 in the morning, it's a good opportunity to go have him or her checked out. Dr. Maryweather, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in, and thanks for answering Lori's question as well. We'll be back with a final look at traffic after this. Time is 8:54.